Before we get to China, we have to talk about the Iran nuclear deal and the New York Times reporting that President Trump is pulling out of the agreement. This would put it at odds with European allies who could face U.S. steel and aluminum tariffs come June 1st. Has this become a world of the U.S. against everyone else?
Well, I hope not. I think any kind of skirmish or major trade war or, if you will, ignoring the rest of the world is not good for the world economy. It's not good for the United States economy. And certainly is not good for trade for farmers and manufacturers and those in the United States that make their living from trade.
You are a big promoter of Nebraska products while you were governor there, and you had to sell U.S. products around the world. Do you think your job would have been much harder in this environment?
Well, I think it's a very difficult time when you have uncertainty. Certainty is important. That's one of the things that we need to respect with respect to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That there are other countries, southeastern countries, for example, apart from China, that we can continue to work with and try to find relationships with and expand their economies as we expand ours, and work on China separately if that's necessary. But Secretary Mnuchin's trip was very important, and I hope that will help us resolve this skirmish, trade war, whatever it may be, so that it doesn't get larger and affect people even more.
But in the meantime, you just nailed it when you said uncertainty. It's out there. People don't want to ship their products to China just because they don't know when the tariffs from the Chinese side could be implemented. Isn't it already hurting business here in the U.S.?
Well, I think it's undoubtedly hurting business in the U.S. Uncertainty in terms of agricultural products, manufactured products. What we can do is we can go to some of our current trading partners in the southeastern Asian region, such as Malaysia. It's a stable political environment. It's an economy based on trade, fair trade. So we can find ways to work with Malaysia just as one example that won't be affected directly by China if we continue to work with the countries in Southeast Asia.
Malaysia, Vietnam, all of these countries that the U.S. is expanding trade with is great. But at the same time, right now, these states within the U.S. rely heavily on, say, Canada and Mexico. They're top export destinations. But there have been some sore points within the NAFTA when it comes to agricultural products as well. You're seeing Mexico increase investment and subsidies in agriculture. You have also Canada and its protected dairy market. Do you expect any of these issues to be ironed out during the NAFTA negotiations this week or when we get an agreement?
Well, they have to be. I mean, quite honestly, the uncertainty, as you said, is not good for the world economy. It's certainly not good for the American economy. So they have to get worked out. We can't continue to live in uncertainty. So, but you go back to Malaysia and China, just as an example. We think, for example, maybe we're impacting China by throwing trade barriers and tariffs on solar panels. Well, solar panels are produced primarily by a country like Malaysia. So you don't want to hurt your other partners when you think that you're hurting the person that you're having most difficult with right now. In China, we have to come to terms with China, and hopefully Secretary Mnuchin's in a position to get that to happen.
Do you expect a NAFTA deal anytime soon? I mean, the House and the Senate also have to approve it.
Well, there doesn't seem to be anything happening anytime soon. I think this...
Not within the year, then?
Well, I don't know. I hope within the year for sure. But I don't think anybody can predict with any degree of certainty how soon things can be brought together, NAFTA or with China. But we can work on TPP to get things going in those countries. I'd like to, if we have three things going, and we have one that's got a potential of working, we ought to put our emphasis there.
You're very optimistic. TPP, President Trump has mentioned it, he's withdrawn it. We really don't know where the U.S. stands on the TPP.
Well, I think that common sense would indicate that ultimately we have to have those trading relationships, and it will happen.
In the meantime, farmers are suffering. The USDA has the authority to give emergency assistance to farmers, according to the omnibus spending bill that was just passed in March.
Yes.
When will it be the right time or the trigger point for that emergency assistance to go to the agricultural sector?
Well, we don't want to wait too long. On the other hand, we don't want to create a situation where that becomes the fix as opposed to a temporary situation for people. But we can't let that keep us from continuing to work to find a permanent and a truthful solution to it that's based on fair trade across the world.
And in the meantime, the midterms are coming in November. Of the 30 districts most reliant on soybeans, say that China is already cutting imports of, Republicans represent 25 and Democrats only 5. And I think we have a nice little map that we can show to our viewers. If farmers continue to suffer, and this is President Trump's base, how will this affect the outcome of the elections?
I don't know. I think it's hard to evaluate the outcome of the election this fall. If there's a blue wave, there are those who think that that's going to make a difference. There are others who think that it's not going to make a difference, that his base is solid. I'm a political observer, but not a scientist, so a political scientist.